Hello there, what's up guys? It's me Danish and I'd like to talk about the ELEAGUE Major. Just share some thoughts and predictions on the upcoming ELEAGUE Major tournament which is happening in Atlanta, the Fox Theatre, and it's happening between 22nd to 29 January. So that's like next week. So I thought that this preview show or whatever will give you some insight onto the first round matchups and the teams that will be participating in this tournament. The prize pool is $1 million, and all the top teams in the world will be competing for the number one spot and the trophy, of course. So we have 16 teams, 8 legends and 8 challengers. The 8 teams with legend status are the teams that finished first to 8th place at the ESL 1 Cologne 2016 last year. And the 8 challengers are teams that qualified through the offline qualifier, which happened late last year, I think November, December or something. So yeah, I'll talk a bit about the 8 legends and 8 challengers. So for the legends, we have SK Gaming, Team Liquid, Fnatic, Virtus Pro, Astralis, Flipside Tactics, Gambit Esports, and Natus Vincere. For the 8 challengers, we have FaZe Clan, Godsend, Mouse Sports, North, Optic Gaming, Team Envious, G2 Esports, and Hellraisers. So we have Gambit against North, which should be quite interesting, especially since North is the ex-Cygnus Stars team. And they did quite well last year. They won the Epicenter Moscow, if I'm not mistaken, against Virtus Pro, and they beat Navi in the semis. So yeah, they're a good team and they have good players, but their consistency seems to be a problem for them. So we'll see how they will do in the ELEAGUE Major. Gambit are also another okay team. They won the DreamHack Winter last year, if I'm not mistaken, against Renegades in the final. So for the second game, we have Fnatic versus G2, which sounds like a really good match. We have Fnatic, although after the Swedish shuffle, Fnatic has dropped a little bit in terms of their placing in the tournaments and consistency. G2 also did have like some really high highs and low lows last year. G2 did win the ECS Season 1 finals against Luminosity last year, but they also lost the best of 5 against the same team, Luminosity, which is now SK Gaming. But I think in this matchup, G2 will edge out Fnatic for Game 2. Game 3, we have SK and Hellraisers. SK, despite changing FNX for Fox, I think that they will be strong enough to overcome Hellraisers, and they should have no problem qualifying for the playoffs. But I don't think they will win the tournament. We'll have to wait and see. They're not the top team right now, I would consider. Game 4, we have Virtus Pro versus Optic Gaming, which is another good game. Sounds like it'll be real interesting. We'll have the Polish team Virtus Pro that just finished 3rd place in the WESGs, which was yesterday or 2 days ago. They lost to Kingwin in the semi-final though, but yeah, I mean, you can't win them all, as some would say. They're a strong team, but they've been missing from some big tournaments last year, so it's hard to take their form into account. But Optic Gaming, on the other hand, they finished quite strongly last year with ECS Season 2 finals. I think they got 2nd, and they won the ELEAGUE Season 2 against Astralis in the final. So yeah, Astralis and Optic really looking hot right now, and they might just finish really well in this tournament. For Game 5, we have Navi against Mouse Sports. Navi, they had some good results last year, but also they also dropped lost in the group stages of like a few tournaments last year. So it's been really up and down. It seems like Simple they have more talent, more power, but They still have to work on the tactics side, and sees as an IGL is. I'm sure he just needs more experience. I'm sure he can fill in that in-game role and in-game leader role and really help Navi. I still think they're good enough to beat Mouse Sports. No, Mouse Sports relies heavily on Nico, and when Nico has a bad game, um, it seems that Nico is the one that carries Mouse Sports mostly. I mean, it's not a nice thing to say. The Mouse Sports have another four good players. The addition of Lowell was did did help their performances a bit, but I still think that Navi will edge them out in that first game. Anyway, for game 6, we have Liquid against Envious, another interesting matchup. Team Liquid were doing very well, especially when Simple was still on the team. They finished second for the ESL 1 Cologne 2016, and they finished top 4, I think, for ESL 1 New York. They haven't had bad placings, but it seems like it's a challenge for them to challenge and compete the really top teams such as SK and RV and stuff like that. Pimp is a decent replacement for Simple, but I still think that they won't go that far. They might make the playoffs. It depends on whether they win or lose this first match and how the Swiss format, what team they'll fight next. Envious, on the other hand, they just won the WESG against Team Kinguin, if I'm not mistaken, and they just trashed them. Yeah, Envious, Kenny S starting to look like the classic Kenny S. He seems to be hitting those shots right now. Even NBK, Apex. Yeah, Envious looks good, and they might have a chance of qualifying for the playoffs, but we'll just have to wait and see. For Game 7, we have Astralis and Godsend. Astralis, they look really good right now. They have good support players. Their tactics are well thought out, and I think Glaive is a good in-game leader, probably one of the best actually. And they seem to have a really good team chemistry. Dupree also impresses. Kirby, for his age, seems to be the next big thing for in terms of CS, and like, yeah. Zipix is a good role support player. Device, when he hits those shots, he can challenge any opper. I think he can challenge Guardian and Fallen. On the other hand, we have Godsend, which includes ex-Fnatic players JW and Flusher, as well as Snyder, Pronex, and I think Lecro, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, Godsend, they did well in the offline qualifiers, but it's hard to see them go far in this competition. They might make the playoffs. It really depends on the results in the ELEAGUE Major round matchups. Yeah, I still think Astralis, I think they can beat Godsend. I think they will definitely make the playoffs on the other hand. For the last game of round 1, game 8, we have Flipside Tactics against FaZe Clan. Flipside Tactics just won the DreamHack Leipzig, which happened last night. Yeah, it happened last night. They played big in the final, the German team. And they played well. They were one of the best teams in that competition, so it was no surprise really. But they seem to impress, especially Electronic, a very young player. They have some good fraggers, even that they're tactics heavy, very reminiscent of Navi actually, like when they had Zeus and stuff like that. FaZe Clan, on the other hand, they're not a bad team. They just, in the playoffs, they sometimes lose against top tier 1 teams. Like since Kerrigan joined, it seems to have stabilized FaZe Clan, and he seems to be a good fit as in-game leader for FaZe. And FaZe do have some really good players. They have AZ, Rain, Kyoshima, players that can clutch well and are really talented actually. So another interesting matchup actually, Flipside against FaZe. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who wins that. I still think FaZe might edge it out over Flipside though. So for the 8 games, I think North will win game 1. North will beat Gambit. G2 beat Fnatic. SK beating Hellraisers. I'll go with Optic over Virtus Pro for Game 4. Game 5, Navi against Mousesports. I pick Navi. Game 6, I think Envious might beat Liquid actually. Game 7, Astralis over Godsend. And Game 8, FaZe over Flipside. So yeah, those are my thoughts and predictions for the ELEAGUE Major Round 1 matches. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Yep, I can't wait. The hype is real. ELEAGUE Major. It's real near. Thanks for watching. Bye.